Good morning, everyone. The objective for this presentation is kind of talk about some of the new features in PPM's version 9.40, which was recently released, I think, about a month ago. Again, my name is Richard Howe. I am the Senior Account Manager. I've been working with PPM, probably like 15 years when it was called something else. And it was Katana, and then it was Mercury ITG, and then, of course, HPE's PPM. So I've been around the product. I've seen it grow and mature as a software product. And I think there's some really cool features that we'll show you today. Next will be John Sherman. He is our PPM practice lead. John will actually be presenting to you the actual demonstration of those features. I'm just going to go through the slide deck. Hopefully I won't bore everybody with the presentation. I'm going to go through it somewhat, probably the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll turn it over to John Sherman. So today's agenda is introductions, which I've already conducted. We'll talk about the new features, which will be covering program management, resource management, project management, user administration, the UI, and then actually we'll jump into the actual software demonstration that will be presented by John Sherman. And at last, we'll have a Q&A section. So let's talk about the first thing that's probably I would say the most significant enhancement that HPE applied for PPM is program management. For those who are on the call that's been around the product for a while, we all know that PPM has the program management module or the entity. We all know that you can have a program that can contain proposal, projects, assets, things like that, and portfolios. But the one thing that program management was missing was, and we've had a lot of clients asking for this functionality, is why doesn't the program module have a program request type and a workflow? And so after a series of people requesting this type enhancement, they're actually rolling out this capability for version 9.40. This allows you to create a program and actually have a program request type. You can have a workflow associated to it. And also you'll have what we all are familiar with from the project management side. They had what they call the project type. You'll actually have a program type for program management. So those who are familiar with the the project entity and the project type, you can actually specify what type of request type you want to use. You can specify whether you want to use a lot of the health indicators, such as cost and schedule. So you can actually apply pretty much the same similar settings to this program type like you can to a project type. Again, as we look at programs, we all associate a program being a higher entity than a project, right? So essentially, kind of a scenario is we associate a program to like a high initiative that a client may have, and part of that initiative or that program, you may have multiple projects or proposal or assets that fall into that. And so you can kind of have a life cycle process for that program, just like you can in the project. So really, of all the changes that we'll talk about today, I think the program management enhancement, this is probably the most significant one that HP rolled out. Next is the resource management. And some of these items here, I will say that they probably have this in version 9.32. I think what HP did, they added some new features for 9.40 and probably kind of extended those enhancements from version 3.2 to 4.0. But I'll go through these really quickly. For those who actually are using the resource finder, when you're committing a resource, when you're using the resource finder to find a resource based on certain filtering, you can actually now commit that person. Previously, when you chose it, I think it just allows you to do a soft commit, but this actually will allow you to commit. Again, using the resource finder, the icon, when you're selecting resources, if you had like 3 resources in the previous version, it would actually allocate all the hours to the first resource and anything left over to the second resource, and again, anything left over to the third resource. Now, basically they just evenly distribute the hours between the three resources. Now you can, if you're a resource pool manager and you want to forward a resource request, you can actually see the available resources in that resource pool as you're pushing that request. And the reason for that is there might not be any available resources in that resource pool manager, so you might want to select a different resource pool when you forward those type of requests. Back to the resource finder, the icon itself, you can now select all resources. Previously, you could only select one, but now you can actually select more than one at a time. With the staffing profile, the UI, there is a user data section. It allows you now to kind of hide that section so you don't see that anymore. I know in the old UI, I used to see those user data fields. Now you can actually hide that. There's also some enhancements within the staffing profile. I think in the old days, there's the specific request or specific resource requested column. It was in the UI, but it wasn't a default, so they made that as a default as part of the staffing profile. That's some of the enhancements they made. Also, in the new UI for the staffing profile, you can basically see the totals across the rows and also under the columns. I think previously you could only see it, I believe it's in the row section, or excuse me, the column section, you couldn't see in the row section. So they just basically made sure both the rows and the columns have the total hours or whatever element that you're sizing the staffing. You can see that now. Also, they've added the capability, you can see the resource remaining capacity and also filtering positions by unmet demand and what it's over-allocated staffing profile. I think some of this was from previous versions for 9.32, but I think it came over in 9.40 and did some enhancements in that item as well. So these are all just kind of some, I think, some items they fixed with some defects, but also some new items in version 9.40. Project management, I think really they've changed a little of the UI, more around the actual overview page. Probably the biggest thing is the More button allows you to do some of the configuring access, notifications. You can actually delete the staffing profile and things like that, and also allow you to export to Excel. So there's just a couple of features they actually apply to the project management module. And probably for those who are performing administration, we add users, we remove users or edit users, what have you. This is probably, again, a very significant part of the enhancements for 9.40 is now you don't have to go to Workbench to perform any type of edits or updates to users. You can actually go to the new UI and perform all that functionality with the front end of PPM. So to me, this was a very significant part. We all have gone through the Workbench and done that before, and not that it's really difficult to use Workbench, it's just a couple more clicks, right? So now allows us to go to the front end and do that type of administration. All right, so let's go to the demo.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I will now take you through a demo of v9.4, highlighting many of the topics that Ricky just covered in the presentation. You can see that there is a new look and feel to the logon. It's been rebranded with HPE, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and the colors have changed from blue to green. If you recall, if you're on version earlier than 9.4, you would be seeing the blue and the HP, but it's been rebranded. So let me log in here. The rebranding will continue. Once I log in, you'll see the new look and feel with the HP, the green colors, much cleaner, clearer, crisper presentation in this version. The rebranding not only takes place in the UI, but also in the mobile app. So as Ricky mentioned, the highlight of v9.4 is program management, and we're going to cover that. He mentioned that there is a program type, so we're going to search for program type, search admin program type, and we'll take a look at the out-of-the-box enterprise program type. So it's enabled. You can view usage. So this program type is in all of these programs, which is a nice view. And you have a couple policies. Enable it for financial management, enable it for portfolio management, define how you're going to measure and monitor program health, and you also define which issue and risk request types that you're going to use at the program level. So that's your program type. We can search on programs. When you search on a program, very similar to before, except what they've added in is the ability to search on the program type, i.e. enterprise, and or you can put in the program ID here and search it as you could any other type of request. Back to the dashboard view, and let's go take a look at a new program. Okay, so here is the new program overview page. You can see the header information. You see the progress bar, the duration, the managers, the portfolio if it's related to one, the workflow step status, and you have the ability on the program form to put in a status note. You get to see the user selected health. You can change the health here. You get to see the issue, risk, and scope changes. And if you click on these, it will take you to the section below that lists out the issues, risk, and scope changes. You see the business objective it's linked to. And here you have a nice cost chart that shows the actual cost to date and the budget cost. So a nice bird's eye view. You can export to Excel, and then you have the at work button here where you can look at the program settings that we just reviewed. You can configure access, and you can look at the program audit trail. As we look across here, there are 7 tabs now. You have the overview tab, the details, user data, timeline, cost, notes, and references. User data will only show if it's configured for user data. On the overview page, we see the content of the program. We see the project ID, or the proposal ID, or the asset ID, the type, the health, the name, manager's status, cost health, issue health, schedule health, percent complete, scheduled start, scheduled finish. You can include closed, you can add or remove, and functionality that was here before, you can determine which columns you want, and you can size your columns. That's in the content, and you can drill into the project from there. And then below we see the issues, risks, and scope changes, if there are any, and then finally the business objective. You can add an issue, risk, or a scope change, and you can drill into those from here too. That's the project overview page. On the detail page, this looks just like any other request form that is configured to contain data about the program. And as always, we're in a demo environment, so the refreshing of the data is taking a second. There is user data. So on this particular program, we have a program level, and we've defined it at enterprise, company, division, or related to a business process. And because this is enabled, that's why we see that tab. Let's go back to the detail tab, see if we get a refresh here. There we go. So here, just like any other request, you have your action items, a say button, a more button to cancel it. You have your jump to for the sections. You have your sections, a summary section, a PF program section. You can see where you have your associated portfolio. Here's the notes field that I mentioned, where if you put a note here, that will show up on the summary page. And it has a workflow out of the box. So what we were looking at is the out-of-the-box form, which is configurable. You can add additional fields to suit your business requirements. We have a graphical view here that's similar to looking at any other request type graphical view, where a program is created, it's launched, it's active, and it sits active until you complete or cancel it. Very simple out-of-the-box program workflow that can also be configured to meet your particular business requirements. So that's the detail page. We covered the user data. Let's look at the timeline tab. This is a great new feature where you see the timelines for the overall program and then for the projects within the program. You get to see the overall health, the percent complete. You have a legend down here, and you have the ability to hover over milestones. So you can add a milestone at the project program level. And you can hover over the milestones at the program level. You can hover over the milestones that come from the work plan. Okay, so that's your timeline view. I have a cost view. In addition to my summary cost here, I now have the detail costs broken out by labor, non-labor, capital, and operating table, and the costs of the proposals or projects within the program. And again, you can configure, choose which columns you want to include in this view. You can sort, and you can freeze columns. You have earned value, and you can generate cost metrics. I do not have enough data to do that for this particular demo, but that functionality is there. Standard functionality of adding notes and standard functionality of references. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the new program functionality. To create a new program, come in and create program. Give it a program name, a program type, and away you go. So we've covered the program type, searching a program, creating a program, and a detailed review of the new program functionality. Okay. Next, what we'd like to do is to cover the user management console, new feature. To use the user management, open admin, open user management console. To do this, you do need a admin license, and you do need the appropriate access grants. We open up the user admin console, and it will initially bring up this listing. There is a server.conf that will control the number of rows returned. You have the ability to come over and filter. I'll filter on my last name. Once you've filtered, you see the little red so that you know you're looking at a filtered list. Now I have this filtered list. I can go take a look at a resource, and over here on the right I see view user, and I can see the basic information. I can see the authentication, start date, end date. I can see the licenses. I can see the assigned security groups and who has the ability to edit this user. I can edit this user right here and do the functionality similar to editing within the workbench. I could change the password. change it, save it, and I'm good. I could also copy a user. So I highlight a user from my filtered list, and I click copy, give it a username, give it a password, say OK. I have my new user, and I can edit that new user. And that copied user will have the same attributes as the one that it was copied from. And in addition, you could add more at the same time. Save the user, and I have a new user from a copy. To simply add a new user, I click on the Add button, and again on the right-hand side comes up the form where you would enter the data to add a new user. A lot simpler than having to go to the workbench as Ricky outlined, and that's the user management console. And again, to get there, it is open admin, open user management console, and you do need the admin license to do that. Okay, some of the other features we'll cover here. As part of the overall branding, I'm going to go take a look at a project, and you're going to see the same look and feel of the project overview page that we saw on the program. Again, in the header information, you have the progress bar, the duration, managers, the portfolio, the status, the last note, the health indicators, the business objectives, and the cost. Okay, so this is a whole new look and feel. Again, they've added the additional health columns. You can choose which columns you want, and you can sort and you can freeze. Another feature here, when we go look at the financial summary, they've added the projected costs, which is the actuals to date plus the remaining forecast to give you your projected totals. Then on the project, we have the additional fields. So here's the projected cost and the total forecast. So the projected cost, like I mentioned, is the actual cost to date plus the remaining forecast. So that's the new look and feel of the project summary page. Let's go look at a couple of the resource management enhancements. Okay, so I'm inside the staffing profile, and one of the features was the totals. So I have my vertical and horizontal. This view is only available in the table view. It's not available in the Gantt view. Going back over to the Gantt view. When I want to assign I have the ability to choose a resource and commit right from the resource finder. If I choose 2 resources, I have the ability to say distribute demand evenly to selected resources. There are 2 configuration settings for enabling these. And when you upgrade to 9.4, they default to true, meaning the functionality is turned on. Also, as we mentioned in the Gantt view, we see the resource where we now can see the remaining capacity. And in this case, Sunil is 100% booked. He has no remaining capacity. And one more feature on the filter is I can filter by unmet demand and overallocation. So that's highlights of the additional enhancements beyond the major functionality of program management and the new user management console. So at this point, that's a conclusion of the demo of v9.4.